So here we are. As you can see, I'm in one of my favourite spots in the world, and I want to speak to you about getting out of a unhealthy habit. This one's about sobriety and my experience with drinking and being sober since then. But I know not everyone's biggest unhealthy habit is drinking. So take this into your own language of your own life and apply it how you will to yourself and how you go about your business. Whether that be eating, your unhealthy relationships that you may have, or even past experiences and how you treat yourself. But this one is going to be on drinking. And I've wanted to do this for a while. So, where do we start? Before I get into it, I want you to join me and get a drink of your choice, okay? I've gone for a beer that's 0%. I can't say what it is because I don't want to be done for branding or whatnot. And I'm going to stop speaking once this is empty. So crack this open. And let's get into it. So I've got a few sort of lessons that I've learned that I want to nail down and not miss out. First one is that I'm 0 or 100 with anything. I don't know if that's got a name for a disorder or something like that. I just say I'm passionate. And if I don't like doing it, I don't do it. So with drinking, that's what the whole deal was. I drunk and I got absolutely smashed every time I did it because I'm 0 or 100. So if I find a hobby I like doing, I do it until I can't do it anymore. And I sometimes fall out of love with it. And drinking, it was that case. So I'm not saying you have to go sober. You can do it in moderation. If you have a healthy relationship with drinking, with alcohol, by all means, if that works for you, then do it. I'm not saying you have to go sober to be a good person or to find your best self and to learn most about yourself. I'm just saying for me, going 100% zero, if you will, is the best course of action that I think I can deal with. So, the biggest point, if this is so embarrassing, one of the main reasons why I stopped drinking, it's taken nearly a year for me to say it to the bigger world. And pretty much, as a Marine, when you have some booze, you think you're nails. I did anyway. So I was at home with a friend in Norwich and I was drinking, and I just always thought I was nails after I've had a few too many drinks. And I was giving a bit of chat at a bar, and the inevitable happened. I got punched in the face like I deserved. And I nearly lost my 2 front teeth because he caught me so well. And to make it worse, the child must have been around 18 or 19 years of age, and he must have weighed about 60 kilos max. So I got punched in the face and nearly lost my front teeth by an 18-year-old lad that weighed probably about 60 kilos. Let that sink in. So I felt like an absolute loser. And I didn't want to be known to be like that. I thought, imagine if one of your role models, Jack, acted like that, and you saw him get punched in the face by like an 18-year-old lad and lose your front teeth because you thought you were nails and you were because you're a boozer. What are you doing, mate? So that was my first verbal wrong, literal punch in the face of realization, was to get punched in the face. And sometimes that needs to happen and sometimes it doesn't. So that was the first thing that kind of brought my attention to the issue I was having. By the way, now, if that lad is watching this that punched me in the face, I would get you a drink now. You changed my life, so thank you very much. And with this comes, with this realization, it helped me have that get off the sofa energy. You know, like the David Goggins, like, what the hell are you doing with your life? You need to sort yourself out, which is great as a launch platform, but it's a toxic fuel over time. You need to be careful with how you do that. And when people say, oh, Jack, what have you realized most about being sober? Is how I refer to it is with a graph, slightly visual. It's the oscillations between big highs and mega lows. So when you're boozing, you're going to these big highs, having a great time, and when you're hungover and you're on that come down, you hit these mega lows. And let's say the line it's going either side of is life, contentment, let's say, just flatlining, just chilling, not sad, not happy, not angry, not scared, just content. So when I'm boozing, I found myself hitting these mega highs and then dropping to these huge lows. And with cutting out that oscillation adaptation, I zeroed down the oscillation to be much more along that line of contentment and life. Don't get me wrong, it's not saying I didn't have those big highs. I now have those big highs without the mega lows. So it's a win-win. And yeah, you don't have those big lows which you're having to work back from, which goes into the next point very nicely. The true value of zero. So being at zero, okay, you think, oh, you always want to be at 100, 90, 80, whatever. That line of content I just said is your zero. When you're boozing, I found that in myself, when you go past that, you're actually drinking and you're going to minus 100. So you've got minus 100, 0, and plus 100. Your best self, contentment, your worst self, rock bottom, minus 100, okay? So when you booze, mentally and physically, you take yourself to that minus 100. So let's dive into the both things I said there. Physically, when you are physically at minus 100, you make stupid decisions. You have a bit of a sod it, I'll do it anyway mentality. And this can take you into a dangerous place and you make stupid decisions. And then the physical side, your recovery and everything like that, you're eating, you know, you're smashing your nervous system and you're just white blood cells and everything is getting smashed and your body's getting tested. It's getting put under stress because you're drinking alcohol. So you're at minus 100 physically and mentally. So guess what? You've got to have extra time and energy to get back up to 0 before you can even think about getting back up to 100 in your best self. So let's say, for example, I go on the piss for the weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, great time, hitting that big high, and guess what? Inevitable, you hit the big low. You go past the 0, you go down to the minus numbers, the horrible zone of minus. With that, you then are behind schedule with stuff you should have sorted out on the weekend before Monday. You've eaten rubbish food on the weekends. You've been smashing kebabs. You've been putting this fast food in your mouth because you're trying to get back over to the next pub, and it's just journey juice for scran. It's not actually to fill your body and your mind. And you're just absolutely smashed, and you have to have that time to recover, that Monday, that Tuesday, that Wednesday, and you're already behind the curb for everyone else that hasn't done that. So you've set yourself back and you miss out on a lot of time and a lot of energy. And guess what? By that time, it's Wednesday and you're already thinking about what I'm doing next, booze-wise, for the weekend. So the true value of 0 is contentment. And the real value of 0 is minus 100. Minus 100 is when you're absolutely smashed and you're going to have to recover to get back up to 0, which is contentment, before you can even think about getting back up to 100, which is your best self. The next thing, wavelength compatibility. So I remember at the start of my sober journey, I went to a house party, my first ever house party sober, and it was tough. It was tough because I went there with no 0% drinks, which is obviously a sign if you're walking around with your hands in your pockets with no drink. People ask, would you like a drink? If they don't ask that, they're not good hosts and they're probably not your mates because they're not squaring you away. Anyway, it just instantly put me in a different compatibility to everyone else there at the house party. Pardon me. And that made me think, that's fine because they're having a great time in a they're on a different planet. But how are you going to be with that person when they're not at that space? So you might have a really good time with them. Let's say you're going out, you know, boozing in a club environment, in a, you know, party environment, and you get on with them really well. And you keep bumping into this person on a night out in a environment when you're intoxicated on the booze, and you get on really well. Okay, let's go more into that relationship. You know, maybe if it's with a partner or a friend, and you see each other more and more. If you have a partner, yeah, you're getting on really well. You start to get closer with this person, and then you find that throughout time and spending more time with them in different environments, aka when you're not intoxicated, you don't actually get on that well because you didn't meet them in the environment that you're going to spend most time with them. Because if you do want to spend time with someone a lot, unless you're a professional drinker, you know, and you are literally doing it all the time, you're not going to have the same compatibility sober as you would when you're drunk. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can't meet someone that you're mates with when you're boozing, as I've met mates when I'm boozing. But the best mates and people I know of have been through, you know, shared more stuff that's deeper, like shared hobbies or jobs that I've actually spent time with when I'm sober. And you can get that firmer, more rock solid foundation friendship, and you're more compatible with them. And by that, you are starting as you mean to go on. Living for the now and not the weekend. So slightly jumping back to the true value of 0, the minus 100, working back up and getting to Wednesday and realising you're having to go on the piss again, or you want to go on the piss. And that means you're then just looking forward to the next high, the next big high, the plus 100, the peak, the big peak. You're just looking forward to that next thing. You know, I explained to a mate today when we were having a coffee that sometimes when you're boozing and you're hungover, you just do stuff that needs to make you feel better, because then you can just get back up to 100 quicker on that. From that minus 100, you can get yourself back up to 0 to then build on again. So I'm feeling really tired, I'm feeling really lethargic, I'll just have a coffee to get my energy back up and I should feel better, rather than waking up sober, appreciating the small things of, oh, I'm gonna go and sit and chill outside and have a coffee today. It sounds cliche, but it's true. You appreciate the smaller things rather than just looking forward to the big celebrations and the big events and the wow, with the wow factor and that big trough. It brings down the oscillation, so you hit those highs more frequently and you have pretty much none of the lows. And this makes you more stable in the long run as well, because you are practicing at that level of psychological function that you will stay at. You're not taking yourself out of that environment. You're not bringing yourself back into it really frequently. You're staying at that level, which you will be. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that I'm never having the highs I used to have when I'm drinking. I'm not only finding more highs frequently because I enjoy the small things, like, sounds mental, but watching the clouds, that's quite a big cloud that I'm gonna have to get on with quickly here. It's definitely rain as well. But, you know, looking at different types of clouds, having a coffee, having steak for breakfast, going and see my mates, doing some fizz, and listening to some good music. That's literally what my perfect days are filled of now, and some sun. That's literally it. I don't even think about as much as and rely on the bigger events that are coming. Calculated risks and rational judgment. So, as I said earlier, I'm a 0 to 100 person, 0 or 100. And a lot of the time when I'm drinking, I was like, fuck it, let's do it. So, for example, there would be, I don't even know what there would be, but there would be something where it's just obviously not the best decision, but because you're on the booze and you're having a great time, you'd just go, oh, I'll do it anyway. Oh, I'll do it anyway. And that carried on into my sober life. So when I'm not on the booze, I wouldn't even calculate the risk. I would just go, fuck it, let's do it. And then sometimes that's not all the best way to do stuff. Calculated risk by all means necessary. Do the risk, otherwise you can't move forward. You can't not risk anything through your life and just not come out with the big wins. Otherwise you're just gonna, you know, have very small steps, and it will take ages if you risk less. But you have calculated risks, so you're much less likely to fall into those traps of the fuck it, let's just do it, let's just send it all the time, 100%, 24/7, 365 days a year. Calculated risks, and it will actually, it's like the story of the tortoise and the hare. Very short bursts of moving forward, of the fuck it, let's do it. And then the calculated risk is just more gradual. You're still going up, and it's more sustainable. So you can keep it going over a long period of time, and then you won't burn out. And then all of this ties into one thing, introspection. Because people say less brain fog, but it's just more clarity in yourself is what it is. You're not getting chased, you're not chasing for the next weekend or getting up back to zero. And that means you just have more time to sort yourself out, sort your admin out, sort this out, top 2 inches, and get stuff done and know what you want from life, know who you want to spend time with, you know what you want from a partner, know what you can give other people. And it's the best thing that I've ever done. And before this, I was nervous, really nervous. It took me 10 months to give a bit of story behind my journey from sobriety from an unhealthy habit. Not just, it was drinking in my case, but from an unhealthy habit. And I then remembered the one thing that probably changed my life was from an Instagram reel somewhere of a 12, 13-year-old kid that, you know, was obviously regurgitating knowledge that he'd found from books or podcasts, but because I thought he was too young to know what he was talking about, I was like, yeah, good one. And he kept popping on my story. I was like, who is this 12, 13-year-old lad that has not even finished school yet and he's giving out this advice? But he said one thing. He said, when I go abroad, I buy a book and I read it before I come back, and I thought, that's actually quite a good idea. I'm going to do that on my next holiday. And then guess what? I read a book that opened my eyes and my mind to changing my life. So you don't need to be qualified, or you don't need to have mega amounts of experience to share knowledge. And you can inspire people, no matter what level of each of those things I just said you have. You can inspire people to change their life. And most recently, my most inspiring and biggest achievement to date that I've had was when a lad messaged me and said, I'm joining the Marines. My friend is wanting to join the army. I've been sending him loads of your videos, and because of them, he's now withdrawn his army application and put in to join the Marines. I've changed someone's life through doing what I love. And I believe it's for the better, because I'm obviously preaching what I believe. And do you think I would have done that sober? Probably not, because I would have had other priorities in my head, which were the wrong priorities. So you don't need to be qualified and have years of experience doing this area to then preach about it. Whatever you believe for a reason. So practice what you preach and share it to the world, because it could change someone's life for the better. And this is what I'm going to finish on before the rain comes in. If your cup is full, you can fill other people's cup. So if you're at your max capacity and your best self, you can fill other people's that aren't quite there. They don't have to be empty. They don't have to be halfway. They can be wherever. And because you're at your best self, you have that energy to just even passively fill up their cup. You might not even realise that you're helping someone out, but you could be doing it passively or directive to help someone out and teach them, just let them have fun, inspire them, and what else you want to think of. So, cheers to changing unhealthy habits, which leads to all of what I just spoke about, collecting into a ball of introspection where you can think about yourself, how you've been acting, who you want to be, and how you can fill someone else's cup. Cheers. I hope that was recording.
Hidden in the branches of the poison creosote, she twines her spines up slowly towards the boiling sun. And when I touched her skin, my fingers